Hello, everybody.
Hey, folks, how's it going?
Welcome to Chip Off the Block. I think we actually had a clean go. I'll get the music going.
Yeah.
Chopin, please. Lovely. Okay. So, welcome, folks. Hope you guys like the little Christmas snowflakes I got falling down and all that stuff. Um,
Quite tasteful. Quite tasteful, my friend. I love that.
Thank you. That took me 20 minutes to figure out. Just a chroma filter. Should have figured that one out myself very quickly. But today is Chip Off the Block. It is Wednesday, 8-ish o'clock. On a lovely Wednesday night. It's 39 degrees here, so we're going to have at least a somewhat cold Christmas. And yeah, looking forward to doing this show with my good friend, the last Omnitech.
Hey, howdy, hey, folks. And yeah, it's actually right now, last I checked, it's down to 40 here in Central Florida at the moment. I think the current temp is sitting somewhere around upper 58, which ain't too bad. And looking at the way things are, Christmas might actually be in the 70s. Thank God. It was looking like it was going to be in the 80s for a while, and I'm so tired of singing Christmas carols in board shorts. So,
Thank
hey.
God it's 10 degrees cooler.
Look, I'm just saying, the difference between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit is massive.
No, it is.
That is the difference between I can wear cool but still long sleeve shirts, and good luck wearing anything but shorts and like a short sleeve shirt. Unbelievably gross.
Even when I wear long sleeves, I got the sleeves rolled up. So like,
Same.
just
Usually same.
So let's see how many viewers we got so far. I think we should. I think what we can do is we can kind of do the shout outs at the beginning. I think once we get more viewers trickling in.
Like that.
Do that. Trying to find my Twitch on my cellular device. Yes. No.
I think that would be fair.
No, Billie Eilish, I don't like your music. Nothing against you. We got 3 viewers right now. Okay, so whenever Derek goes off the air, at least we'll get 10. But
exactly, be a big boom, and we'll all be good. I just reblogged us, and I'll put us up in a couple other places too.
Oh yeah. Oh, I should definitely drop promo stuff. Yeah, let me do that now while I'm thinking about it. So for the viewers we do have right now. Oh, hi, honey. How you doing?
Hey-oh.
Let's look at the announcements. I'm gonna drop this in my man Soul's chat. Shamelessly promote myself.
Oh, nothing wrong with it, man. We do what we gotta do.
Hell yeah. I guess I'll post in Hope as well. Live announcements.
I'll throw that up in the Campfire Quest and a few other places. See if I can't get some feelers out there.
Hell yeah. Love the snow overlay. Me too. I think it looks really spiffy. I like how it turned out.
Super chill. Super chill.
Took me a little too long to figure out, but hey, it looks nice, so whatever.
Hey, you're fine.
Dumping live now on a bunch of chats. Let me catch some viewers.
You know, I know there's a way to program that just as like a baseline. I know. But at the same time, it's just, I'm too lazy to make the real trend.
We have crawled up to 5 viewers, so that's
yes.
Good. So
hand over fist to the trenches of Twitch.
The trenches of Twitch. Welcome in, my extra new viewers. Much love to you. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday evening. This is Cheers. Chip Off the Block, and I'm sure I didn't update on that on Twitch, so I'll do that real quick. I did! Oh, I'm a genius! I did that in advance, and I didn't even remember. Oh man,
yeah,
thank you, past me. that's a Christmas miracle.
That moment when you look back at time, you're like, wow, past me actually is occasionally trustworthy.
Yeah, sick. I was just like, I don't even remember doing that. Oh, the joys of ADHD. But folks, this is Chip Off the Block, not the Writer's Block main show, but this is Chip Off the Block, where we recap, review, and take requests from the previous episode and recap and review. So our previous episode, we had on Gamer's Ledge, Mark of Gamer's Ledge, very cool dude, and we had on Aaron of Aaron SXL on Twitter, also a very cool dude with a lot of great ideas. Omni, would you like to start the recap?
Oh man, where do I even begin?
Begin with pain.
Yes, much pain. All right, that's very fair.
That was clips.
So,
I think Aaron
begin
clipped
with
that.
pain. Gotcha. Let's see. Hold on one second. Just you gotta love having only enough ability to focus on one thing at a time. It makes writing extremely difficult.
I know the feeling.
All right, there we go. So, all right. Let us begin. All right, with pain. Ah, boy. So, man, it was such a slick last show. So, first off, we have to give major shout outs to our folks who were on the last stream with us. Truly incredible folks. I cannot stress enough how grateful I am that we managed to have two incredible guests last time, bringing all that amazingly cool stuff with them. I'm just going to very quickly go in here, and why is this not doing the thing it's supposed to do?
I'm posting our previous guests' Twitter handles in the chat, so make sure to give them a follow, folks. They put out some pretty cool stuff. Aaron,
yes, thank you.
Both of them are streamers, actually. Aaron's not necessarily a streamer; he's more of a podcaster, but his podcasts are a lot of fun to listen to. And Mark's just a really funny dude. Like, even if you don't like TTRPGs, I don't know why you wouldn't, but even if you don't like TTRPGs or anything else, he streams Fortnite and stuff like that. Funny dude. Really, like. He's
admittedly, hanging out before and after the show was a true delight.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, I would go out for beers with those two. Just like, even if there was no show, if we were in the same town, to be like, hey, you guys want to go for a drink? Why? I'm sure it'll be a gas.
We'll just talk about some random nonsense. Almost, I need to stop cussing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's go through the list. So we had a surprisingly large selection of mystery words last week. The big list as it is: pain, diagonal, dust, depth of flaws, and then we had 8 more: fury, record, foremost, large, stars, coveted, hope, arduous. Hope y'all were paying attention. I'm only doing one pass on those. We'll go on those individually later. But we will begin with pain.
Lovely. That's another
just,
clipped moment.
Please, someone clip that, send that to me. I will say, before we even scratch on that, I do have to mention not only are Gamer's Ledge and Aaron amazing, but the amount of work we did on Aeon, or AS last week, was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
We invented 2 whole new economies out of the blue, and it worked really well. So to get back on pain, the biggest ones that we seemed to sort of spring off the old notes, was kind of what it takes to survive in this world that we've created, which is, it's pain. Technology has changed ever since the word bonk is the event, is the term that seems to be the running colloquial term.
It's
the
not
great
going to
bonk.
be the canon term. I refused it.
I know, I agree 100%. It will not be the canon.
When we're talking about it in like in an omnipotent sense, yes, we'll call it the bonk. But
right, yes, no. This is the out of universe joke term. Although honestly, if I saw that on a T-shirt or a cup, I definitely would buy it. But basically, during that massive magical apocalypse, they basically bent the laws of space and time enough where even technology as it once was needs to be sort of tweaked and worked around. All the old formulas, all the old methods, they don't quite work the same. It's enough where the principle is the same, but the underlying math has changed subtly. So even the process of using technology, something that you'd think would be the easier solution than what is basically nuclear arms style magic, even that's not that easy a solution, and in fact is its own incredibly complex difficulties to deal with.
Yeah, I think that sums up pain pretty well, and I think that's a good segue into diagonal as well, because Aaron brought up a good point. That really inspired some, I want to say, abstract thinking. So rather than thinking of things like normally like diagonal, like obviously horizontal and vertical, or up and down. Diagonal is a little bit of a weirder thing. He came up with that word, and I was just like, what in the hell do we do with a word like that? And he immediately had a thought for his own word, which, that's good. I was hoping he would sit down with an idea for this word. So, yeah. So technology, the way that we were just talking about it, like how it can cause pain to even use the technology of the past world, the old world. He sort of had this idea like we need to address technology not as like a vertical way of the way we used to do it, but more of a diagonal. So instead of like the example we keep using is a microwave. So you have a microwave, right? We sort of know how they work now. Some people know how they work. I don't know how they work. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a microwave technician, but they fundamentally work how we expect them to. There's waves released that heat up moisture, causes heat. Duh. You doing that in this world now would result in probably nothing less than an explosion. So instead of the way that we addressed it in the old world, the way that the new world with this bonk has changed things, we had to sort of address things diagonally. So we had the same idea, but we need to come at it from a completely different angle. And I thought that was an interesting way to approach diagonal. A little bit of a stretch, but I mean, honestly, it inspired a lot of thinking. It just like Aaron said, instead of like using a regular microwave, you'd have to like stand in the microwave. It's sort of like a way to like heat things up.
Sacrifice your pound of flesh so that your pound of flesh can be edible temperature.
Oh,
Honestly, I like that. I like those kind of highly abstract prompts. They give you a lot to run with. Like some of them are obvious, like if we go with pain or like the word, lethal or something, or even like dust. Like there's implications underlying it. But what do you do with diagonal? Well, you do what's best on this show, which is you bullshit, and you figure out a way to think, and it makes you think. Even if your thought process is like just out there, ridiculous, grasping at straws, we're building a world. It's all grasping at straws. It's exactly what you want. So props Aaron on an absolutely amazing prompt. Definitely.
Very, very like it's a strange prompt, but the way what I've told my guests, our guests so far is like they've asked me like, oh, are there any parameters I should be thinking on for these words? I said nope. They can be as specific or as general and broad as you want them to be. Just think
It's
about
free association. Basically.
Yeah. So if you think this word would inspire thinking and creative in sort of a push along the creative process, by all means bring that word. And we had a word that we spent, I think, most of the stream talking about, and that was dust. And my God, did we come up with a lot of stuff for dust.
That one word made two functioning economies of power and finance in this entire setting. We have our first commodity and our first weapon against magic that isn't just like bullets. And man, good option. Good choice there. I love it.
Whose word was that?
I think it was me, but I didn't choose it. I think it was Gamer who chose it.
I might have chosen it. I might have chosen it because I'm biased with Warhammer and Thousand Suns. But
you're right, because you mentioned something about Thousand Suns. You're like, okay, there's no Thousand Suns jokes.
But I made one immediately after.
That's right, yeah, because I think Gamer chose Diagonal, and then Aaron chose Depth of Flaws. I think that's how it went. So we kind of worked out the idea that like the arcane fallout from the bonk, from basically the apocalypse, we're calling it dust, like the dust.
Yeah.
And it's solid magic, basically, either like literally as dust, like Spice and on Arrakis and Dune, or in terms of just like rocks. I imagine it probably could solidify even more, but the point is you can refine it into a physical substance, like mana potions in many video games, but it's not necessarily safe. I think, we even mentioned that like the dust can be used to sort of make old tech work correctly and normally. So it's sort of that way around. I want to build technology, but it basically requires us to rediscover the principle, or we find a crap ton of dust and integrate it in the machine, and it'll work as if it used to before the apocalypse.
Yeah, it's kind of like this. It's like this uh, one thing does everything kind of thing, like baking soda when it was first introduced. Like it was like, oh, baking soda can do everything. It can clean clothes, you can make cookies with it, you can make bread, all this different stuff you can do with baking soda. And you know, that's kind of what dust is in a more fantastical sense. But at the same time, for that exact reason, it's very, very difficult and highly coveted. Which, that's a word that we put down but didn't come to. But I think coveted is a good way to tie that in there. We'll come back to that, though. Yeah, like Omni was saying, dust is a substance that can either, like, nullify or sort of, like, refine magic. Like, it's kind of like putting a scope on a rifle. You can sort of, instead of having this big blast and, like, not knowing the outcome from, like, a cannon, so to say, you don't have to deal with that back blast. You're sort of, like, putting it down into a smaller package, a more precise package. Without having the side effects of what magic does to tethered, especially untethered.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely seems like it has that cushioning effect, and that actually sort of ties into the next stage of that word, which is dust bunnies.
Yeah.
Which is the idea that you can use dust like an actual spell component or like a component piece of machinery in a mechanical, physical sense, or you can have people use dust, and those people are referred to colloquially as dust bunnies. And the idea is that dust bunnies are people who can literally channel dust through their bodies to generate that cushioning effect on magic or suppressing effect on magic. Because that's what it really does, is that it doesn't make magic safer so much as it dials the amperage down. So your magic is less likely to harm you, but it's also less powerful. So the idea of wizards and folks in the wild, the tethered and the untethered, the tethered who have dust support, won't necessarily be able to generate magic quite as potent as those who aren't using the seatbelt that is dust. But you're driving without a seatbelt, and if you get in an accident, you're super dead. So same sort of thing. It's a lot of mages will take the effect of using dust and not having any instability to their magic over just straight dying, potentially. Which I'll admit, that sounds like a payoff to me.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that.
So dust bunnies, because using dust damages you, we sort of went with a lot of Akira. At least I went with a lot of Akira references in that last stream, where it's like the Vespers in Akira, where they're taking medication, but it ages them and it helps them stabilize their powers, but it damages your bodies. So dust bunnies basically process the dust through their body, pass the effect off onto someone else, but they still are taking the damage. So they age much faster than other people. They take physical harm. They might develop deformities, what have you. But they're doing it for great amounts of money, is really the trick. Because there's not a mage on the planet or a government on that planet or nation state that wouldn't be like, yeah, we will totally set you and your kin and your next of kin all up for doing this, because you're definitely going to die. And when you do, your family's going to be living much more comfortably than you probably were. So.
Steep cost, but you know, it's sort of seen as a noble cause amongst people that take up the occupation, knowing well that there's a very, very low chance that you'll survive, but you're providing possibly for a generation and a generation thereafter of your family. So it's a sort of macabre noble cause. It's I was comparing it to leprosy. You know, people didn't, in biblical times, people didn't hate lepers. They pitied them. They saw them as like wandering souls that are sort of they saw leprosy as sort of a punishment for somebody's sins, and that was the ultimate punishment for a sin, is to become leprous. And they would wander from place to place. They wouldn't they wouldn't they wouldn't stay anywhere. They would wander, right? They were vagrants, but not by choice. But what people would do is they'd leave out things like soap and bandages and food and water for these people. They didn't hate lepers by any stretch of the imagination. They pitied them. In the same way, I think dust bunnies would be sort of pitied, but they'd be sort of like looked upon as just like, okay, you did something very noble, knowing that you had to do it to protect or like keep your family alive and safe. So I think it's a weird parallel to leprosy. And honestly, I think now more than ever we can sort of relate to diseases and how they've affected our personal lives and what have you. But
And the sacrifices people make in order to help everyone else in the world get through those tough times, which is what these people are doing. That's what a dust bunny is doing. They're literally turning themselves into a stability battery for a dangerous mage to protect their nations or to serve the interests of their nation or state or community or what have you. Which is, I can't find a more direct parallel to literally nurses and doctors and all the
yeah,
other folks on the front line right now, without getting too explicit. Uh, so yeah, uh, there are, however, so it must be said that even though the individual dust bunny is probably of the more selfless, compassionate sort,
yeah,
we did talk about the fact that where there's people who are willing to do such things, there's almost always people willing to profit off of them. And in this setting, which is somewhat dystopian, we had to touch on that. And so we had the idea that dust bunnies don't often, they're not just solo operations. It's not one person out there with a pickaxe chalking up dust and then running into a city going, I'll saw like 30 hours off my life to give you 30 hours of stable magic. It's not usually the way it works. Instead, you have farmers, basically, who will gather the dust and then farm or gather people to be dust bunnies and sort of act almost like a talent agency for dust bunnies.
yeah,
And depending on the scale or the size of the nation state or even like the merchant operation doing this, you could have local dust bunny farmers who are like, my father was a dust bunny, my grandson was a dust bunny, I'm a dust bunny till I die kind of thing. Or others where it's like, yeah, that's a cartel who provide human batteries to people. We kind of sort of balance that out, and it's sort of a regional thing. I don't think we solidified any one place as having one thing or another. I do
no,
know I think we did touch on the idea that nation state that's making like the supernaturally abducted kids into mages probably has a more organized dust bunny farm kind of thing. And I feel like we're foisting off a lot of dystopia onto that nation state. Not that I am at all complaining. Um,
I mean, Derek and I on the midnight show, we he had a really good point. He said, "Why wouldn't rich people have their own like personal servants that are dust bunnies that just follow them around the house and they sort of like plug them in to whatever tech they need to be working with at that particular time?" So basically, like they're a servant, not like an indentured servant or a slave, but they're like paid. They're like a really well paid occupation in this
yeah, they're
particular society.
butlers.
Yeah, they're
Like,
butlers. They're butlers and
like
maids. Like
yeah, everyone always thinks about. They always think about butlers in terms of like Batman, that kind of thing. And they think about. Of course, you're going to think about Pennywise, Alfred Pennywise, the archetypal butler,
yeah,
basically all fiction. And everyone always thinks, oh, he's so dutiful and sweet and noble and kind, and he's sheltering, and he sacrifices so much for so little. Okay, he's all those things, but let's not forget he's a butler and the head of the manor, by the way, paid by a billionaire. And for the record, butlers are basically nobility in and of themselves historically. Like, if you just go not even too long ago, but back to Europe during World War One, we still have manors and households, and I'm talking like relatively recent stuff. We're talking Downton Abbey levels of modernity here, where butlery is basically tradition that goes back decades, in some cases centuries, and goes all the way back to the well-paid manservants who waited on kings and queens and their lords and ladies. These people are doing it because they are not poor. They are a highly paid mercantile class. So if you're a butler, you making bank. Alfred's taking care of Bruce, not just because he loves him, he does, because he probably has a six-figure salary, and his kids will be good forever. And I figure, yeah, it would make sense for the Dust Bunnies to be the same way. At least for rich folks, I could totally see that. Like, why not, right? If you're already sawing years off your life, it's probably easier to work in a house as a manservant and make bucks on the side, even more money than you're probably already making, than like be just permanently wired up as someone's Duracell. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, my mic wasn't on. What I was saying is, butlers, in that sense, quote unquote, power maids. I like
Yeah.
that. Power maid.
Power maid. I
like
love that.
I like that. I'm gonna write that down. I like power maid. That's cool. It's like that.
Sir, do you need the butler? No, I need my power butler and the power maids. What's that? And they just bust the door down and pull the magic out of someone forcibly.
Where the hell did I write that down at? Whatever, I'll just put it down somewhere underneath here.
That'd be a really good bodyguard, too.
A power
The
maid?
most dangerous thing in this world is a mage. Like, it's literally like paying... That's amazing. It's like having a missile. That's like having a private missile defense system for your house that occasionally brings you hot coffee and your daily papers. I love that.
Power maids. I love that. Okay, yeah, that's definitely going. That could be a fucking short story. There's my F word. All right. that
See, this is ship off the block. We are not even done refining these ideas, and we did it for like 3 hours last week.
I mean, that's what writing's all about, though, is just coming back to an idea that you haven't looked at for a little bit and being like, hey, I'm going to add something to it. Same thing with art. You ever paint something, paint in oil, take a day away from it. When you feel like you're getting near finished, take a day away from it, come back to it. It's not going to be finished. You're going to see a bunch of things that you still need to do.
Everything is sculpture, folks. Everything is whittling. You're refining, you're diamond in the rough. The more you chip at it, the better it gets.
And I think we can transition into depth of flaws, which we didn't write down a bunch for depth of flaws, but we sort of just kind of settled the idea that depth of flaws is going to be a theme that's common throughout individual nations, nation states, just smaller territories, provinces. It could be part of the landscape and what have you. Naris made it in, would have joined sooner, but phone refused to load even though my signal was reporting that it was good. Well, I'm happy to have you now. Yeah, thank you for coming by. We were talking about depth of flaws and sort of how each of these civilizations and even areas, even places that aren't like sort of founded by humanity, they have flaws, right? So like, let's say there's a city from the old world. Its depth of flaws might be that there's a bunch of highly coveted old world tech there, but the flaw in that is it was, you know, the reason why it's abandoned, the reason why the world is the way it is because of cities like that. You know, the depth of flaw. And then you could also have our newer nation states, the ones that are established in the last 200, 300 years. They're the ones that are sort of depth of flaws in the way that, depth of flaws would be like, we're going around gathering children that look like potential mages. That's a big depth of flaw. Like, what, you know, and feudalism in its own right is a big flaw, right? Because it sounds like a good idea in like a smaller sense, but when you have
always those kind of things, it's one of those like, yeah, abstractly the idea of a wise, benevolent leader who will look after his people and be incentivized to do so historically and for the benefit of his family and his people.
Because of bread.
Yeah. Like,
the word lord actually means giver of bread or something like that in Old English. I don't know if folks knew that. And so does lady. Lady means maker of bread.
And it goes back all the way to the genesis of modern feudalism, which is the idea of rice kingdoms and grain kingdoms. Literally, someone somewhere planted food. They built a fence around it. Someone said, hey, you have plenty of food. Can I have some? And they said, sure, if you'll help me tend it. And that is the basis of modern feudalism on every continent In one form or another, it's happened. If there's ever been a king or a queen there, or a government, probably the basis of it. It happened in Japan, happened in Europe, happened in Asia. It's happened here in the United States and or in the Americas.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere. I think the only place might have gotten away with it is no, even Australia had it. Yeah.
I mean, even to a certain extent now, we have like remnants of feudalism because we pay taxes to fund the police officers that protect our property that we work upon. So it's kind of like, oh, that idea is just capitalism, and the way we live now is just democracy and a republic and all that sort of stuff. It's just a more refined version of feudalism. We have a lot more checks and balances rather than just having this person says it, you have to do it, you have to follow these orders.
We're even kind of trending back towards feudalism a little bit in the corporate world. Like, there's literally companies that are asking local states, hey, can we make like Google City or Amazon City where we own the land, pass the laws, and the only thing we'll do is we'll pay you like a small stipend to tax.
And that's a really dangerous thing to...
It's super dangerous, and I'm not okay with it, but it is like literally the textbook definition of, hey, you want to try feudalism? And I mean, no, but are you leaving many people any choice? Anyway, that's a hot button political topic I don't feel like getting into.
I don't think it's political. I think a lot of people wildly agree upon the idea of just like, if you have corporations controlling territory and sort of making their own laws and rules, we're heading...
Yeah, it's not even...
We are hurtling towards cyberpunk, because that's literally what cyberpunk is. Like,
except we're not getting the cool stuff from cyberpunk. They got all the cool stuff.
Yeah, they got cool LED collars and
LED collars,
mantis arms
everywhere, mantis arms, VR everywhere, and yeah, we have all of that. Maybe not the mantis arms, but pretty cool prosthetics. Not that I'd want to hack my arm off for one yet, but we're on the way. Yeah. But it's all for money, and that's the problem. Is that in Cyberpunk you get those terrible or cool things as an alternative for money or a means of making money. But here it's like, no, dude, you want to look like a cool cyberpunk character? I hope you're pulling in $100K a year. Because that's the only way you're going to get yourself a car with ground effect LEDs that's both electric and fast, and also get yourself cool fashion and all the cool, terrifying dystopian tech. But, you know, that's not a spicy take or anything.
There's probably a lot of that sort of vibe going on in AOS itself, so... You know, like the whole idea is just like, Dust Bunnies are a good example of that too. You're giving up a part of yourself to get something. And I don't know, we haven't really discussed what being a Dust Bunny does to the body or changes, or like fundamentally changes you. But that being said,
we did talk a little bit about one of the potentials, which is the idea that you can go beyond being. And this is one of those big tangents we just sort of like leapt onto. I wasn't kidding. We were not kidding when we were like, yeah, last session. Shit jumped off the rails and we just ran with it. It was great.
Yep, it was fun.
It's like nulls is a thing we eventually settled on.
Okay, yeah,
like
you have something we talked about.
Yeah, we're like, you have dust bunnies, and they're kind of like a semiconductor. Their job is to reduce the intensity of incoming electricity, in this case, incoming magic, and sort of cushion everyone from the impact, or at least anything but the desired impact, by using your body as a conduit, and a negative effect happens to you. But as a result, yeah, no, it works. It's a magical semiconductor. If that's what a dust bunny is, dust nulls are just straight up non-conductive. They shut down magic, or worse, they siphon it from the environment around them. They are anti-magic, as it were. And that was fun. I think we mentioned how it might affect people as almost being like tranquil in Dragon Age, potentially. Like there's a 1 in 100,000 something chance, some ridiculously high number, that you might not be rendered mentally still as a result of the process of becoming a null, which is in of itself an anomaly.
Yeah.
But, like, for the most part, most nulls are kind of just, I will do what you want, like a very Hodor kind of very reduced autonomy and personality sort of manservant.
Yeah, and they've sort of like ascended, quote unquote, into that state of being, which is sort of we I was calling it an arcane lobotomy almost. So like you don't necessarily have control of your faculties in the same way that you used to. You're probably gonna get to the point where you just completely screw your mind if you keep doing it. Or I don't know, a weird parallel to draw to, but cigarette smoking is something I think of. You can do a moderate amount of cigarette smoking, never get lung cancer, but if you're smoking like a pack a day, oh, you're gonna be
Well, yeah, you're
flirting
dead.
with disaster. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's the same kind of vibe with dust. You know, if you do too much of it, you're gonna get to that point. But if you do it in moderation, you'll have side effects like cough and you know, blackened phlegm and stuff like that. But you won't have cancer or anything like that. Or in this world, you won't have a lobotomy.
It's a much reduced chance. Yeah, like I kind of like the idea of just like keeping it easy and just being like, if dust siphons away magic, then perhaps it's just literally siphoning away like aspects of living. So like it's just aging you. Literally, it just straight up ages you. But I'm sure there's probably variations of it too. Dust is a huge resource on this planet. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot more methods of processing it or effects. Maybe different regions have different like after effects.
Yeah.
Some people just age older. Other folks might like actually suffer like physical like pain or injury as a result of dust. This is a video game I used to play called Jade Cocoon, and in Jade Cocoon, you have a type of mage known as a cocoon hunter who goes out and captures monsters in magically woven silk cocoons and brings them back to their wife, who's known as a Nagi maiden. Nagi being a magical tribe of people. I'm getting there, folks. Follow me. And the general idea is that in order for them to use these monsters Pokemon style, the maiden has to literally use the magic inherent in her bloodline to pull the evil out of the creature and render it into a pure servant for its user, for its new user, for the Cocoon Master is what they're called. Problem is, doing so literally pulls that through you. You're pulling it out like a sponge, keeping that pain inside you, and it causes physical injury. So, like maidens when they're first married, their clothing tends to be very normal looking, like bare arms, sometimes a bare midriff because they live in like a almost Indian slash style of apparel, where you often will see like sari, that kind of thing, very Middle Eastern-esque aesthetic.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, the injuries literally form massive body-covering scars that induce an incredible pain. And so, like, they'll slowly cover themselves up and veil themselves as that starts spiraling out of control. And eventually it kills them to a person. There's no survivors of the process, which is what ends a Cocoon Master's career, is the death of their wife. And so it's really unfortunate. But for me, that felt like a very similar pattern of like, maybe there's dust out there where it doesn't age you. It just literally goes, we're not going to take your life abstractly. We're going to take it directly. And you suffer necrosis or like gaping wounds as a result of whatever magic you use as a hard replacement. So
I feel like magic would be the thing that would like cause physical harm, while dust would be more of a mental thing. Because dust,
right.
I would imagine it's more like magic is channeled through the body, like you were saying, with these Cocoon Masters. While dust is sort of inhaled, like probably through any orifice you could think of. I won't go into detail what orifices, but use your imagination.
We'll keep it classy, San Diego. We're not going to go too far.
We'll keep it classy, up the nose, probably. But you know, you could imagine that kind of that passing through the sinuses, you know, and sinuses run behind or around this area, and it can cause brain damage, which would kind of make sense why it would cause a lobotomy, because it's inhaled.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably different ways to do it. There's probably a bunch of different people doing it in different ways. Some people probably eat it. Some people probably just breathe it in, have a mask, kind of like Psycho Mantis from Metal Gear, have like a mask on and have it like fed to them at all times. Which
some might literally use it like a lotion or something, just rub it and let it absorb through their skin. Like everyone probably has a different proprietary method.
Do a Jimi Hendrix, just sort of like tuck it in a headband.
Yeah. As many nations as there are, as many like regions and like communities as there are, someone who has access to dust has found an innovative and unique way of using it. and whether or not the rest of the world community views that as anything remotely practical or anything beyond like a weird local taboo or tradition. Big shrug. But like, yeah, no, it's kind of like, hey guys, how do you administer a health potion to someone? Well, you drink it. Well, are you sure about that? Because my Warforged doesn't have a working circulatory system or digestive tract, so that ain't gonna do jack. Okay, what about a shard mine? They don't even have mouths. So what, you just... Like, I always like the idea of breaking like an Estus flask on your body and sort of like letting it do its job and reknitting things.
Have like really thin glass and throw it at...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that makes more sense to me. How do you heal someone else on a battlefield? You're gonna run up and gently tip the glass vial into their mouth? Or you're just gonna hit them with a water balloon and heal them from 30 feet away?
Splash it in their face, like a glass of water. Just go.
Yeah, exactly. Membranes like the nose tends to cause near instant effects. Yeah, exactly. Just tip it up and.
So that's probably why dust users would inhale it in that regard. Neris
For the
is
record,
probably a lot more qualified to talk about stuff like this than I am.
Very true. Also, like full disclosure, this is, I guess, a parallel shout out for totally only like peripherally related reasons. But Z Bashu, the guy who did the animated spell book, did one today, which is about the coffee lock idea of D&D 5th Ed, where it's the idea of if you have a sorcerer combined with a warlock, you can literally use Arcane Focus to trade their powers back and forth to get endless spell slots. And one of the variations is known as the Coke Lock. And the basic idea is a coffee lock doesn't sleep. Every long rest is broken up into short rests. So they generate like 17 they generate like 17 spell slots. Because yeah, it's really ridiculous. It works though. The thing is that the most recent rules are like, yeah, if you don't take a long rest, then you will begin to take points of fatigue. There's like no way around it. And so the counter to that is the Coke Lock, where it's specifically a celestial warlock with her sworn to like a unicorn or an angel or something.
Yeah.
And in exchange, they gain access to the restoration power, the greater restoration spell. So they don't even sleep. They just stay up all night, coking up power, and they just use greater restoration on themselves.
That is the goofiest shit I've ever.
The animation is so good. I'm gonna put the link in the chat. That's my one totally unrelated link for the night for all of you. If you haven't watched it, I don't think that's unrelated. You're just... Yeah, you're right. It isn't, but still, it's oh god, there you go. I'll send it out for you all. That's my gift to you.
Before we hit 9 o'clock, Derek and I did that midnight show called World Breakers, where we take an idea. Our first idea was sort of like, let's take the ideas that we have from the show, pick out which ones are crap, and then like get rid of them. And I'm just like, that's a bad idea for a show. So what we did instead is we took an idea that we had with the previous session, broke it down to its core, like broke it completely down to like, okay, we have all these ideas like running wild over here, but let's just take it back to its start. And we did that with Dust to a certain extent. He's the one that had the idea of having like just like a battery made in that sense, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Alright, where was I? Oh yeah, so Derek's the one that had the idea. DMDM Studios is the one that had the idea to like why don't you just have like a battery servant follow you around your house? But we also had these ideas. Let's see here. Let me scroll down. Oh yeah, we forgot to talk about the astrologists and stuff like that. We'll get to that. Let me do.
Yeah, exactly. Multiple careers, folks. Multiple. Literally, like it is impossible to overstate how much we made last session.
Yeah. We made so much and covered so little words, which is fine. That
yeah.
I decided on World Breakers. I was like, let's just take a few of these words and run with them and make prompts with them. So we started with coveted because that was the word I picked from our mutual stream with Derek. And so he had the idea that dust is sort of interpreted as remnants or fallout of Earth's physical form. And I thought that was a cool idea. I thought that people.
Or being the super powerful ghost magic creature that's sort of the only like thing that may or may not have survived the Big Bonk.
Yeah.
For those of you out there who are looking for the explanation.
Dust could also be meteorites that burned up in the atmosphere at some point, like that could be pre or post apocalypse. And like I said, that's also where he came up with the idea of dust bunnies being servants, like butlers, like professional butlers. Let's see here. So we also took the prompt stars because I like stars a lot. We both like stars. Vathis Hysteria. We made this morally gray organization of dust bunnies that use weaponized dust within themselves to combat tethered. We talked about that, but we didn't give a name to it, and we didn't sort of like tie anything to it.
Yeah.
We continued on with that, and I'll get to that as well. We did Hope. We're calling it the Big Bonk. Yes, we're calling it the Big Bonk out of character. I'm not going to once have a single one of my goddamn characters say the Big Bonk. Not once. I'm going to write in this universe, and I'm not using that. I might make an allusion to it just for fun, but I'm not using that.
I'm just saying, if and when I ever decide to do like a game jam or something and caltrop this out.
There's an
like
upcoming
whatever.
game jam. Titanomaster was talking about a caltrop game jam. Maybe we could brainstorm something out. Maybe we could do a special stream where we brainstorm stuff.
Oh, that would be so fun. If we do, I may like just in the patch notes, like have asterisks next to the official word we're using. And at the very, very end, in like size 5 font, just be like, also known as the Big Bonk. But like, just for the meme.
Mark Y. Hope is another word that we picked out. Derek had a good point. He said that at the bottom of Pandora's box wasn't chaos, it was hope.
Hope.
Implying that hope is the most dangerous force in the universe. So we said hope is far more dangerous than malevolent chaos, and world religions widely agree upon hope being a sin. Not all, but many of the world religions agree upon that idea. And desire in any form is considered an ultimate sin. This is sort of pine for something that's beyond your position, is sort of, to be reaching beyond oneself, and is to be shamed. That's sort of a way that the institutionalized religions sort of keep control over peasantry and stuff like that. They don't want them to try to reach beyond their position. Like actual feudalism. You are doing this one thing for the rest of your life, and we're going to keep it that way so we can keep society in check. So if you had people nonstop wanting to go out and be like, I want to be a painter, and I want to paint with dust and make like animated paintings. That's a really cool idea, by the way. But you're just like, no, you're a farmer. You're going to stick to being a farmer for the rest of your goddamn life, or you're going to screw up the natural cycle of things and how they are here in this territory of Waxaria. I don't know. But hope is something that sort of like needs to be quenched, because hope is sort of widely believed to what brought about the end the first time. So and hope can be a lot of things. We hope for a good Christmas. We hope for pleasant weather. We hope that we don't get hit by a tornado. I live in Missouri, I can say that. And we hope for a lot of like pleasant things, like we hope you have a great birthday, but we also hope for a lot of negative things. That guy that cut you off in traffic, I hope that guy gets pulled over, that kind of stuff. We people that we really don't like, we are like, oh, I hope something bad happens to that person, right? Like that's more common than positive hope, right? Because
even toxic hope, like a thing that a lot of people I don't think quite like put two and two together, like unrelenting positivity is just as bad as being unrelentingly pessimistic. There needs to be a balance.
We're talking toxic positivity on a writing show.
Hey, dangerous.
We are going to dangerous territory. Good vibes only, folks. But
it is a thing. Like hope can be the same way. It's sure. I hope I live a good life. But then there's I hope I go to heaven, and then there's I really hope the aliens on the asteroid that's flying by pick us up as I pull my covers over at Heaven's Gate. And, that is the darkest reference, by the way, I think I'm ever going to make on this show, just so y'all know. But, hope can be quite dangerous, especially if it's weaponized by the wrong people.
Exactly. And Hope's a really great person in the TTRPG community. You probably know her already, but we're not... I promise we're not talking trash on her. Great person. She's boosted literally everybody, done nothing but been a She is the definition of a pillar of the community. She's done nothing but like lift up other people, start charity streams, that kind of stuff. Great person.
My greatest regret that I haven't reached out more to Hope, because everything I've heard about her and seen about her work has been in nothing but positive, and that has got to be one hell of a person.
Yeah, you know, I've never heard anything negative about Hope, and her and I talked over DM. I found out she was a percussionist in school. And I'm like, that's really cool. So was I. I really miss marimbas. I really
Nice.
miss timpanis. And she's like, I couldn't play the timpanis. I'm like, ha, idiot.
Nice.
No, but I just like being able to connect with people, not on sort of like a not on like a business sort of like advertising scale, but like a more on like a personal scale.
Yeah.
Oh, Coin is rating with a party of 5. Oh my
Dude,
goodness.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love your
man.
Coin. Much love.
Yes, welcome in, new people. We are talking
Hey.
about Hope, the person and
The negative things we're talking about, Hope, we're talking about the concept. The positive things, almost exclusively a Hope for our TTRPGs. Also,
Hey,
hey,
Gilbert's here.
Chickadee, good to see you here first time.
Oh, thank you for showing up, Chickadee. Magus,
And
thank you.
Magus. Nice. Love you all. Thank you. Good to see you.
I got
Kier,
this.
nice.
I got this cool thing. If you want to follow me, there'll be a cool little notification that'll pop up on stream.
Ooh, do it. Someone out there do it. I want to see the thing.
We don't have to worry about Ghostface following Nave Campbell. There it is.
Oh,
Thank
boy.
you for the follow, Chickadee.
Oh, I love it. This is my first time seeing this, by the way. That's my heart. I'm so pleased.
I thought you'd like that.
Yes, I do. Oh, my heart. It's so warm and toasty. It's not just the heartburn from eating all those fries from Five Guys.
No, but seriously, thank you guys for showing up. Hello, Raiders, indeed. I appreciate all of you. I love you all. Thank you very much. Oh, there's a little heart.
Much love, chat. Much love.
I think we can move on from... Oh, okay. So there was a second point to Hope. So Derek and I, like I said, we were talking on the midnight stream, and I missed my Velociraptor running across the screen for mine. I don't have a Velociraptor. I could get one, I guess.
Love the emotes, by the way, Coin. Looks so good.
Oh, those coins look so damn good on Twitch. But so Derek and I actually made an entire religion. Spoiler.
Just drop that on me.
I thought you'd like that.
In case anyone out there was wondering if we do like any preamble before we jump into the stream, like
No.
beyond just like getting things set up. Hey, how you doing? How's it going, man? It's been a good day. Yeah. None of it. Like we don't talk anything about this.
I'm dropping this bomb on him right now. I thought it'd be funny. So yeah, we made an entire
Great,
religion,
I love
and
it.
like Softcore made an entire nation. So yeah, the look on your face is great.
You know, I'm all in. Let's go, dog. I'm ready. Mhm.
Oh, I even made a horror escape for part of this religion that Derek and I were talking about. That's on my
that's
coffee.
cool.
Check it out. But I'll play it on stream. Why the hell not?
Yeah, definitely.
I need to turn off my pleasant Chopin music for a second. But yeah, while I'm pulling this stuff up, so Derek and I literally made a religion, and it's a religion of not people that is sort of mages, but it's actually quite the opposite of what we were talking about. We made a religion of dust, quote unquote, which, like I said, very different than what we were talking about when it came to like a pious and a very religious and zealot nation. These people of dust, quote unquote. Oh lord, did we not write this down anywhere?
No, it's at the bottom.
There's
It's Tethastros.
yeah, Tethastros.
Geography.
We
Yeah,
can
at the very
pronounce it however the hell you want. I still like
I
the
just
nomadic
found out
wolf.
about it. I'm an archaeologist, folks. I don't know where they put the accent. Okay, just deal with it.
Yeah, Omni's a little bit of a sandbox archaeologist right now. digging up the turds that Derek and I.
little less of the brush, a little more the sand blower, but we're working on it. You know.
Thinking a leaf blower.
Yeah.
But we made Tethastros. It's a huge theocracy. They're a monotheistic religion. At one point they might have been polytheistic, but their religion is actually anti-Ur. They believe that Telecos, the tower, is like the prime deity of their religion. This is often referred to as just the tower or Telecos, either or we'll probably come up with more stuff. We've sort of agreed that he is the one that killed Ur, quote unquote, supposedly. So he is the center of this religion, and we were talking about hope, and it sort of spiraled into this weird conversation about like, okay, so what if we had these scriveners, in the sense that you know how a lot of priests and clergy would spend their entire lives like transcribing Bibles and stuff like that, just because there was no printing press, there was no easy way to do it, and they would be able to insert their own thoughts and ideas and that sort of thing into the writing, unbeknownst to the church. So they'd be spreading these Bibles around that took them literally 30 to 40 years to transcribe, because writing that many pages in ink every single day, and you have other things to do, like, you know, survive and eat, and tend to your flock. It made it a very difficult process. So what we were like, okay, so what if we had these people that are sort of like dust bunnies, but not in that tradition, not in the same sense, but they got hooked up to this sort of I don't want to call it a machine, because that's a little bit too industrial sounding. They're hooked up to this sort of thing that we'll come back to, and we'll touch on it, that allows them to sort of like channel and interpret the weird text that was left behind for them, text that we don't really understand as humans, and this text is so unbelievably complicated, sort of like Illithid script. I believe that's what it's called, script. Illithid script, Illithid language.
I think so, yeah.
It's written with their face tentacles, right? So it's written in it's like 4 things being written at once. Yeah. And sort of in that same regard, it's just like, we don't understand it. We actually need somebody of like a high psychological comprehension, or like having a high psychological comprehension to be able to sort of transcribe this stuff. And we said that these people would slowly wither away while they were doing it. So they did have dust channeled through them so they could focus and do nothing but write for days on end. And these people would be referred to as saints, or as we are calling them, an Osh, or an Osh. So
I like Osh, yeah.
We also had this really macabre idea of these people being literally brain dead by the age of 30, because they're being overloaded with information nonstop all the time for probably well over 8 hours a day. And they're basically they're treated as martyrs, right? And a lot of martyrs are saints. So they're marched around on parade at the age of like 25, 26, and they're literally just drooling on themselves, all dressed up to look really nice. People are cheering and watching them go through these crowds, but they are literally brain dead, and the only thing that they can do is transcribe this ancient text that was left for them that nobody else can do, unless they wish to literally feeble mind themselves, essentially. So
yikes.
Yeah, that's
that is so okay. Take this in context where I'm talking in the world building sense. Good, I love that. I hate that, but I love that. I hate that so much. That is good world building. I will apply world building again.
Creepy, but very cool. Thank you, Chickadee.
Yeah.
Kira said, "Is Telecos dark? Dark as in like light, or dark as in like fantasy?" Because yes to both. I'll be happy to lend my voidity to other projects, but specifically ones I meant. I would be happy to like have a bit of your project into our project. That'd be a little cool nod and collaboration there. Kira's been talking about nomadic warriors and stuff like that in chat for a little bit. But even on previous sessions, I like the idea. I don't see why there wouldn't be like nomadic tribes, especially in this world. So.
I mean, yeah, no, definitely. If you're going to put nomadic tribes in anything, post-apocalypse is actually a great place to do it. Especially a setting like this, where it's on the verge of something new, too. So I do like that. Dark is in, like, Dark Tower. He's talking about the Dark Tower.
Dark as in the tower. Oh, Stephen King.
I got you. I got you, yeah.
I actually have I'll play the Horrorscape that I made while we talk about this nation. Is it running?
Please. I will put the audio one in the background.
If it will run, I will gladly play it. Why are you not playing? Please. Run. Yes, good. Okay, this is my creepy ass Horrorscape.
So good.
Thank you. I made this with my mouth. But yeah, if you want this in your creepy game or something like that, it's 99 cents, or pay what you want. Check that out for me. I'm going to be doing a hell of a lot more of these, so if you guys have any requests for me to do Horrorscapes and stuff like that, yeah, Just ask.
I definitely could use some Atraxu sounds, so I might be looking into that in the future for you.
I'm telling you, man, you won't meet somebody that can do. I was talking to Elise about this. I was saying to her, I said, I can do some really creepy shit with my mouth. Now, take that in any context that you'd like, but in this particular context, thank you, Tiffany. That weird noise that sounds like radio static, that came from my mouth. I just like changed it a little bit. Yeah, I can do some weird stuff. So
you're like the chill version of the sound effects guy from Police Academy that I get to stream with and build worlds with, and I love it.
Michael.
His name always escapes me, but yeah, he's in like so much back then too. He was even in Spaceballs as one of the troopers with the bleeps, the creeps, and sweeps.
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know that, just go right now. I'm exiling you from stream. Put Spaceballs on in the background. At the very least, watch that absolutely beloved cult classic.
Michael Winslow. Yeah, Kier got it. Michael Winslow.
Yes,
yeah.
Winslow. Thank you.
I kept thinking Michael Fassbender. I'm like, that's not correct at all.
I knew it was something at the end of the alphabet. I was like, I just couldn't put my mind to it.
But the reason why I have this ambiance is it sort of sounds like a tunnel, right? It sounds like a cave sort of thing.
Yeah.
The reason for that is Derek came up with this because Derek has a sick mind, and I love him for that.
He's a good GM. It comes with the territory.
And
you don't get to play all the evil in your universe without being a little bit twisted.
Exactly. That's why I'm as messed up as I am. Don't look up my criminal record. But I'm kidding. I don't actually have a criminal record. But
yeah, no, we play D&D, folks. It's not mutually compatible. Life of crime plus that.
But the sort of thing that Derek came up with is we have this tunnel that sort of leads to a this underground steeple or church, is mega church, right? It's probably a cathedral. Sorry, I'm being a dummy. Not a mega church, but a cathedral. And this is where they worship the Ash, the saints and stuff like that. Where they give thanks to them all the time. But listening to that audio, this is a tunnel constructed of bones, and the bones of the Ash and the saints that gave their lives to transcribe this stuff. And along these walls, while this place is entirely constructed of bones and skulls, it's sort of a French catacombs sort of vibe. They have stories. The story of how Telecos the Tower killed Ur, and then it continues on, and it's completely unfinished. This tunnel is little less than a mile long, and it's about quarter of the way finished, and there's still new things being carved into it all the time. So it is a very creepy sort of 5 minutes to midnight, but in reality it's probably like 100 years to midnight because tunnel's huge. But yeah.
Tunnel's big, guys. That's really cool. I love that idea. Who knows what's at the other end? Big shrug.
Big shrug.
It's probably not good given it's in this universe, so
I'll give you that idea. But yeah, I'll put back on the Chopin.
I love that. That's great.
Oh.
That is so good.
I'm glad you like that, because Derek and I have sick minds, and Midnight Show, that's all the more reason for me to, number one, get out my cuss words, number two, put out some really dark and scary things. But
I regret highly that I literally could not stay up to listen to this.
No, you're fine, man.
I was struggling by the end of that stream. I was dead.
Yeah, you're all good, man. That's what I got Derek for. Derek's my midnight man. And he's been wanting to do a show with me, and I was very happy to have him on as my co-host, because he's just like, he was telling me that I don't do my best thinking like on the fly. Now you and I, we can definitely come up with some random and weird stuff on the fly.
Well,
but I can understand that. I can understand
Yeah.
that a lot of writers aren't like that, or a lot of creatives aren't like that. They need some time, they need some thinking and space, and what have you. But
I'm the weird inverse, where I can't possibly do that sort of thing very easily if I'm given time. But man, sit me down for 30 minutes and give me absolutely a blank piece of paper. By the time we're done, I will have what could have filled up 5 of those if I was actually writing. Man, if only I ever learned to write while I'm doing those diatribes. It'd be great. I'd be done.
It's hard to write and talk at the same time. Believe me, I know I'm doing that. But I think that's a good spot for our first break, because I think we did a pretty good review of everything. and I sort of
Oh, the astronomers. Before we forget, we should probably touch on that.
Yeah, so the astrologists, astrologists aren't, or astrologists and astronomers, they're not just sort of like mundane scientific professions that we don't really need. That we need them a lot, because determining star patterns and stuff like that, especially with the way magic is in this world or the system, whatever you want to call it, it's very different. So like an almanac would actually be like something that everybody needs to have on them. That's an idea for a book. That's a really good idea for a book. Traveler's Almanac to
an almanac's guide to the stellar sphere. I don't know, stellar disk.
I like stellar sphere. That's cool.
Yeah.
But astrologists and astronomers are very important for that reason. And somebody asked the question: Do magic users, or tethered or untethered, either or, do they see the world differently? And I thought that was a very interesting question. I was kind of like, no, but you guys had a bunch of better ideas because I'm an idiot and I said no to an improv prompt. But I'm an improv guy, I promise. But I think that I said that they do. I was like, no, but they could see phenomena like the trained eye can see stuff like the aurora borealis. Like to a normal lay person, they would not be able to see the aurora borealis, while these people would be able to. That's a comparison. They're out there; they can see these astrological phenomenon a lot better than a regular Joe Schmo, for example.
Right. And it's kind of like, it's almost like every time we get one of those sort of questions like, do the tethered X? And the answer is almost always some, or no, asterisk, yes, asterisk. There's either an asterisk or an admission that every one of them is different. Because again, this isn't, the tethered, the mages in this setting are not like your old school wizard D&D. Everyone's got a book and we all are reading out of the same book and everyone's using the same tensors spell, like the same tensors magical floating disc, or Tosh's mind whip spell. Like, no, none of that. Everyone's power in this setting is bespoke. It is highly individualized. You might know the limits of your own power and what you can do with it, but anyone else walking up to you, if you're a tethered and there's another tethered and you're looking at each other from across the table, one of you might not have eyes and be just a floating pile of rocks, vaguely human shaped at this point. The other one of you might exist simultaneously at different points in history. Be wondering why there's this weird pile of rocks across all those points looking back at you. And both of you go like, I have no idea what the other one does, but man, I'm freaked out. I'm really freaked out, because that's the whole idea. Magic is not a known quantity in this setting. They're just beginning to understand it. All they know is it's powerful, it's dangerous, it's extremely unstable when not properly tethered. And man, oh man, no one has any idea what it's capable of beyond Big Boom, basically. That's a very bad frame of reference when your scale of what power is capable of is somewhere around nuclear weapon to anything below that. That's a little bit vague. So
you're the one that keeps saying you can glass people, like literally turn people into glass. Like,
I'm not gonna lie, it's because in my head I'm building a tethered character. Like straight up, I'm building a tethered character.
Also, that's a really good idea. What we should do is no, that's a horrible idea. But I was gonna say
go on.
I was gonna say we should do the game jam and then run a one shot. And I was like,
I love
that sounds like a great idea, but I don't know if we'll have time for it. We'd have to like do the game jam in one night and then the one shot in another. That's a great idea.
I mean, we could do it. Like, just release a 3-page thing that we could cram that out. Yeah, I'd be willing to push Legacy back a day or two in order to jam that bad boy out.
What's another day?
It's only been like 8 months overdue. Fine. 2021, right? The whole year has been a dumpster fire. Why not get a little fun out of it? And saying, yes, Eldritch is hell. Accurate, Neris. Like, we're talking weird magic here. This ain't your dad's spell books.
I put down in the random ideas because this is a good idea for the Caltrip Core if we're going to do the game jam for that. I put down magic isn't defined by spells, but you draw upon a pool of knowledge and elements.
Love that. Yes.
So instead of like having like a spell list, you have a bunch of different stuff. You ever play Magicka?
I've heard of this.
You take elements and like different sort of things, and you combine them together to make a spell. and like later on you can use more elements in a single spell to make it more strong and that sort of thing. That's what I'm thinking about doing for our game jam. Nobody steal that idea. That's my original idea. I'm gonna copyright it and patent it right fucking now. You can't. There's my second F word. But you can't steal that. My original character. Don't steal.
I'm just gonna put a running counter of 2. There we go.
Don't you write that down. You're making me look bad. I'm gonna have to put the stream down as adult. That's all right.
It's a button on. It's the one control I have on the stream. It's just a button that I press and it changes a number up 1 higher.
There's just a ping on the stream. It just says next F word count.
Yeah.
But let me see what Kira said, and then we can go to break. Kira was saying aura sense. I think he's referring to the ability to see. Yeah. In addition to normal sight, aura sight. I like aura sight. Or
yeah,
like
I definitely know that was one of the things we did agree on that mages or that like the tethered have, like as they're like the one probably guaranteed put a pin in it. They all have some aspect of this is a way to identify or at very least like not like a scouter or a scanner kind of thing where it's like, oh yes, I can easily quantify it, but like some way to like look and be like, oh, that's definitely a tethered. Like, not necessarily like picking someone out whose powers haven't been refined or used, but immediately going like, oh, I recognize the pull of magic in this area. And it's pretty obvious it's coming from the end of that giant cosmic wire that I'm looking at. Who just happens to be turning everything around him into fire. So like, yeah. Because that's kind of how the battles would go, is we identified like literally start of battle, 2 hills, 2 opposing sides, armies clash, and meanwhile 2 guys at the back are chanting very aggressively at each other over the course of over like a quarter mile, trying to screw the other one over because they know exactly what'll happen if they lose.
Wizard chance, like, that's another thing I can do.
Yeah.
Wizard chance is going to be another horoscape I can do. Or tethered chance. Chance the tethered. That's a really cool sounding thing.
Ooh, I like that, yeah.
That'll definitely.
I like the idea of it almost being like, I love the idea of like kids having like sing-song style, like, you know, not lullabies, but like sort of children's
nursery
songs and nursery rhymes about that kind of thing, about like like, you know, the tethered's chant. The tethered chants, hope yours wins. If you don't, like something terrible happens, but I can't because I don't write nursery rhymes. Like, you know, just some like haunting thing where someone's like, what the hell is that kid singing about? Oh yeah, the battle from last week. That was terrible. Other guys totally died. Like, you can still see them out there. Points and sees like a hill on fire and people fused into it screaming in the distance. We just tuned it out. Eventually you stop hearing it. Like,
if you want an example of what Omni's talking about, look up the Magic the Gathering card Declaration in Stone.
Right, oh yeah, exactly.
Right there.
Like,
I think we're gonna go to break.
I think so, yeah.
So, folks, stick around. I'm gonna be gone. We're gonna be gone like 5-10 minutes. I'll have some Egmont Overture by Beethoven going, and yeah, from Innistrad, Shadows over Innistrad specifically. But don't go anywhere. I'm gonna need your prompts. Give us writing prompts, anything that you can think of. Give me an example, Omni. I'm drawing a big old brain fart right now.
Oh God. Okay, so here's a prompt. I'm gonna go with one of the ones we had from last stream as an example for you guys. So let's see. I'm gonna go with Neris. I'm wondering if a mage would develop more neuronal connections in certain parts of the brain. Then again, anytime we learn something about the neuron. So basically, like, do the tethered get smarter from their exposure to magic, or
That's a
are
good prompt,
like, yeah, exactly, like literally questions. They can be questions, suggestions, anything. If it's just like, I don't know what's going on, can you explain? That's a prompt. If it's, yes, I was wondering whether or not there's enough mages in the world to do XYZ, or perhaps more whiz-bangy kind of magic is just one type of being a tethered, or something like that. Yeah, go ahead. Get as abstract or specific as you guys want. It can be about the world. It can be about a specific part of the setting. It can be about the whole idea of what we're doing as a channel. But preferably about the world so we can riff off it really easily.
Yeah.
So,
on that note, we will be right back, folks. Stick around. And we are back on, folks. That should not be playing. Apologies. Let's see here. Naris said
Love you,
phone
Naris.
batteries.
Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for coming by, man. I appreciate you. Yeah, Apple's not very good with the battery stuff. I appreciate you stopping by, man. Much love. Okay. Let's see what prompts we got. Looks like technically one from Naris. Excuse me.
Yep.
Oof.
She clarified hers from last stream, and we do technically have a bunch of ones from last stream, bunch of interesting comments. So, off to the side in the comments section of the document. So we can go with Naris and Kiers. Go from there.
Let me check something really quickly. 8 viewers, not bad, not bad. We love it. 8 viewers for the Wednesday stream? Hell yeah. That's really good. Let's see. Yeah, so we'll Naris was saying not necessarily smarter, but something different about their brain. Ooh, that's a big conversation topic. Because that's going to be discussing the inherent nature of what training to be a tethered or what training to be a tethered would look like, or even just being an untethered. But
I mean, I definitely think that, again, this is one of those. We're talking about the tethered and the untethered here. Asterisk. There's always an asterisk. They are all so individualized that what applies broadly may not apply to any one individual, or might be 1,000 times worse than any one individual, or better.
True, yeah.
I definitely could see it altering their mental state, though, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think we need to write that down, too, because we've been talking about that. That's something that we've widely agreed upon. Is like these effects, be it dust itself or magic, they both have detrimental effects to the body. There's a lot of theorizing what a human would look like if they were born in a place of zero gravity, and they would kind of look like what you'd expect a Martian. Like those like a Gray's body type to look like. It's really weird. It's like more narrow towards the top, but like everything towards the center of the body is like really circular, and like all the guts are sort of like merged into this weird spot. It's really weird to look at.
Because at that point, gravity is such a defining trait of our evolution, our physical evolution as a person. I don't mean that in terms of like species wise. Obviously, it is, but
yeah.
Because otherwise, the only forces acting on your body are your growth patterns. And most of your growth patterns are designed to work against the force of gravity. So, yeah, no. It's like that show, The Expanse, that we've mentioned more than once, where it's like, what does a Martian look like? Well, a Martian basically just looks like a slightly stockier, slightly leaner version of a human. But that's just because of the fact that they're only stockier because they are almost all relentlessly working their hands to the bone, terraforming a planet as a subgroup as a culture, almost uniformly. So the conditions of working and living are rougher on them. So they're more physically conditioned than the average person on Earth. And they're slightly leaner because Mars has lower gravity than Earth by a fair degree. Yeah. Whereas
it has like 88% of Earth's gravity, something like that.
Yeah. Like, it's comparable to Earth, but it's still, like, enough where we would have to relearn how to walk without breaking your ankle.
Yeah.
Or running, at least, for sure. There's a reason why NASA, you'll always see, like, the footage of astronauts on the moon. They're not running. They're, like, gently skipping. Because the first thing they were like, yeah, you're going to want to run. Don't run. You will kill yourself. Just please don't. Don't make the first thing we see on the moon being the broken body of an astronaut who really, really thought he could do it. And so, like, or if you live out in the belt, in The Expanse, you basically just are a much longer, taller, slightly less healthy-looking person, because so much of your body is what we consider healthy nature is tied to your posture, which gets F'd in 0 or low G, and your skin color, which, when you're not exposed to UV because you're inside of a hab your whole life, gets pallid. So, and yeah, that makes sense. Like in 0G, you would just, all that would matter is your gut sack's intact, your brain sack is intact, and every other muscle group is probably just not going to need to do much work.
You literally look like Like a Q-tip.
Yeah, exactly. You're literally like what it really looks like. What it would really look like. Honestly, probably like the most like disturbing images of the undead from like D&D or other settings. Because all that you would have dimension-wise on your body would be your gut and your head. So you just be this weird shriveled tube of a person whose like defining traits are I have a stomach and my skull works, and everything else is irrelevant.
Yeah, we literally build strength by working against gravity. So like the fact that they wouldn't
Yeah.
have that, they wouldn't have natural strength. They would just be weirdly round. They wouldn't really have any real angles to them. They would
You
be.
might not even be able to. You probably wouldn't be able to breathe on Earth because your diaphragm has to work against gravity.
Oh, this is a cool conversation.
It is. It is
But-
also a little parallel, yes, but that probably is a similar like magic would be that defining, a redefining thing to people. I figure, especially as their magic, as the tethering becomes more active, as it's something that they lean on more and more, and their magic becomes more and more expressed. It isn't just like I have this power I could draw from, but I haven't. Like, as you draw more from it, I imagine it changes you just as much as you change it. So, I like the idea. Maybe that's a way you could tell, like, veteran tethered, or like the more powerful trained tethered. Like, they're more physically altered by their magic.
And their alterations would vary greatly. Like you could go from looking like a regular person to I'm gonna draw two Fallout parallels this session. You could go from looking like a regular person to a ghoul. You could go from looking like a regular person to a super mutant. It just kind of depends how your body and your physique sort of reacts to the sort of magics that you're using. Kira said, "Sorry, back was getting pages for Canes from the editor. All good, man. I seem to be missing a page somehow. That's a mood."
Yikes! Hope you can find it.
I hope you can just get another one.
Yeah, true. Like, no, but I get that, and I agree. I always like to draw the idea of magic as something that's inherently strange to us, in the same way that, like, a very Cthulhian kind of, you can't understand it. It's not, magic is literally the word humans use to describe stuff we can't explain with reason, science, practical understanding. Like, there's no amount of explanation we can give that I can make fire leap from my hands. Not the way that I do it. Right. And so I like the idea of the effect for some being really othering or strange. The thoughts that come across my head are, if anyone's ever played Magic the Gathering, I know Kira out there.
I play a lot of Magic.
Yeah, exactly. Then you're probably familiar with like the Shards of Alara, specifically the one with the Ethereum everywhere. I can't remember the name of that one.
Esper.
Thank you, Esper. Yeah, of course, Esper. Shards of Esper. The way that the Esperites, when they use Ethereum in their body, literally like parts them sort of are almost like unraveled or like filigree, but only filigree, and they're hollow. I like the idea of that. Or like Mr. Nobody from Doom Patrol, where just like you literally can see through the guy at some angles. He's just a puzzle. He's like a human puzzle pieces, kinda. And he doesn't need all of them to work because he doesn't obey natural law at this point. What he is decidedly inhuman now. And I like the idea of maybe their magic bleeds into them a little bit. Like someone who their powers intrinsically are tied to fire or a fire starter of sorts. Perhaps their skin becomes cracked and almost volcanic towards their hands. And they don't even feel it in like a manner that's painful. But like almost like splicers from BioShock.
I was actually just about to talk about BioShock.
Yeah, like when the fire thing, it doesn't make you go like, oh, I just magically conjure fire. Like, no, your hands look like you stuck them into a molten lava pit. Like, they are burnt, cracked, emitting flames from between it, might be twitching a little bit, but there's no real discomfort for you. You're just there. Or like the poor guy with the bees.
Oh
man, what a bad draw for that guy. I got all the cool plasmids. What did I get? Bees. please. Like, yeah, same idea, right? Like, it alters you to make you a host for that magic.
Oh, that cutscene though, where you first get that one, is so gross. Talk about setting off trypophobia. Oh.
Seriously, God.
But on the line of plasmids, since we're talking about Bioshock now, I feel like magic would be sort of reminiscent of plasmids, where you'd like it would alter the body, not in like a sort of not in sort of a purely aesthetic sense, but it would alter it in that sense.
Yeah.
If you're a fire mage, if you're a pyrohemic mage, pyromaniac, pyro blah blah blah, whatever, you
just use the term fire starter, but that's more of like a supernatural thing.
Fire starter, fireman. Like we'll go with fireman. You do fire, your body's going to be reminiscent of it. You're kind of going to look like a burnt marshmallow, and probably in some places you probably have skin flaking off, and you can. Oh.
I like the idea almost of, depending on how powerful the tethered is, or how well cushioned they are. Maybe that's one of the big advantages of having someone around as a dust battery for you, is that it might lessen the physical alterations somewhat, or make them more palatable, so the worst of it doesn't all reflect on you. Maybe someone who's completely untethered, the more they use their magic, like, you might literally see just like a dude floating off the ground, or like along a hillside, and be like, yeah, no, he doesn't have a torso. It's just arms and a head, and somewhere vaguely in a body-like shape is fire. And you're like, well, how do you hug that?
We call him the Crucible.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so cool.
We're writing that one down.
Seriously, absolutely. If that doesn't get added to the NPC list, I don't know what will. But yeah, like, literally the transformation, especially the more you use your power, or the harder you draw on it. Like, if you're just walking around and like zamming one or two people, or subtly altering the environment, it's probably not that bad. But you turn, like, again, to go with my usual like people to glass thing. If I glass 50 meters around me, then I am probably gonna have glass creeping up my forearms towards my chest.
Yeah. Or you'll be dripping with molten glass. That's a really cool idea. I
might one day just shatter and be vaguely like glass shaped. Like, I don't even mean that like in terms of like, oh no, my head.
I may one day just shatter. We're clipping that.
But like, I love the idea eventually of just the person. It's a relationship between the magic from the stars and the person channeling it, and it's sort of it's almost symbiotic. But the more magic someone channels through themselves, the less symbiotic it is, and more it's like an anglerfish with their mate. Like, eventually the mate just doesn't exist anymore. The mate's just a pair of genitals to help the female become pregnant, literally. Fused to the female physically. And in this case, eventually, tethered just really can't even be described in this traditional sense of human anymore. They're not. They're magic. They're thinking, living, talking magic, and whatever that may entail about how they have evolved personality-wise, physically, take it as you see it. So
they become that if they don't die horribly in their youth from use of magic. Maybe
yes, exactly.
That's a possibility. An interesting thing is that mages could become powerful enough to sort of we're kind of treading on Jedi territory, but like sort of return to the magic. They sort of become this nebulous, simplified cluster of cells that resemble stars.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
that might be that might be like a long-term part of the reason why there's no such thing as an archmage in this setting. Like, in a lot of other settings, you have like the really powerful mages, or the old ones, a wizard who's an elf, or a ladrin who's been like around for 500 years and had plenty of time to tool around with magic. But like in this setting, magic consumes you. Your paper to its fire. Your job is to make it burn bright and flash up, and in a way that can be harnessed. But it consumes you. So maybe that is ultimately what ends a tethered's career, is they burn away like
to nothing.
Yeah, like tallow or wax over a candle. It's just gone.
Burn away.
And all that's left is the wick. And at this point, it's just fire and ash.
That is such an interesting idea. Trying to think what else. We had a prompt. Well, Kira said, what constitutes a rogue wizard, and what are the consequences of being caught as one? Well, our rogue wizards are technically untethered, but I'm assuming you mean like if a tethered were to go rogue and do their own thing. The difficult part about that is like, you know about the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Imagine if the missiles didn't get grabbed by the wrong guy, they just walked up and decided for a vacation in Cuba.
Yeah, so you have that whole thing where you have to really indoctrinate these people to fight for your cause. Not like because you want them to be trained or you want them to be loyal. You don't want them to turn away and fall into another enemy's hands. Otherwise, they become a very, very big liability, while they should be being a weapon in that sense. So that's probably a potential for a lot of short stories. Just right there is just people tethered going rogue, and technically a tethered is an institutionalized mage. So they're trained, they're taught, they currently are underneath an institution, still being taught. Because I'd imagine you would be training for your entire life, because why would you stop? Because you need to have your body in a certain sort of physical way, and you need to have your mind in a sort of way so you can not get distracted by things. Think Evangelion, in the way that the pilots are really connected to their mechs, right? It's in the same way where like you're really connected to your magic, and if you aren't mentally stable, your magic's going to be even less stable than it already is. So tethered would become an untethered if they were to abandon, but they could become tethered again if they went to a new nation and fell under their institutions. But
or even if they went back. I mean,
you could go back to say, all right, I'm back. I kind of like the money. I like the life I'm living here. Cuba's not so great.
And you would accept them because they're a walking nuclear weapon. What are you gonna do? Say no? Like I think we even had we started. I think on the first episode we even touched a little bit on the idea of the reason why there's so many restraints and restrictions on the tethered in some societies, and in others where society is kind of dominated by them. It's the same reason. The tethered are inherently more power than you can allow out of your control, and difficult to control at the best of times. Because, again, walking magic, depending on the tethered, you might literally be a walking war crime by modern standards.
Yeah.
And so you are a strategic resource, is the term I would use to describe it. The term strategic resource in warfare does not necessarily mean a thing you can use. It is a thing someone somewhere might be able to use, whether to further their own interests or deleteriously affect someone else's. So as an example, a nuclear power plant in a foreign nation is a strategic resource, both because it provides power for the region that it inhabits, and because a missile strike to it would destroy that region quite thoroughly by poisoning it for who knows how long, and introducing a massive environmental crisis that anyone would struggle to contain. This is what a strategic resource is. It is a thing to be managed. You can control it, maybe. You can harness it, maybe. But the one thing you really, really, really don't want is someone else to do those things against you. So, if a mage goes rogue, and then shows up at the gate one day and just goes hey, I'm a mage. I can snap my fingers and pull time back 20 seconds. And if I look at someone really hard, I can just turn them into a fetus. Okay. I'm here to...
That's cursed.
No, it really is. Again, magic, bespoke magic, gonna be weird, guys. I'm gonna throw some weird stuff. But,
That reminds me of Shadow of the Colossus for some reason.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, I can see that.
That's a spoiler, though. I won't go any further than...
It's not a spoiler. It's a PlayStation 2 game. I'm putting this out there, folks. If you haven't emulated Shadow of the Colossus, watch someone play Shadow of the Colossus or play Shadow of the Colossus. That's on you.
Really
That's
cool,
like me.
man.
It really is. That's like spoiling at this point, like Star Wars, like A New Hope. If you don't know what happens to the Death Star at the end of Star Wars, I don't know what to tell you guys. Besides, maybe come back to Earth. The moon must be lonely. But no, even the moon would have gotten like television streams of Star Wars at this point. Anyway, point is, like, if one of these mages shows up at the front gate of any fortress or city-state and is like, I'm willing to work for you, I literally can't imagine the response would be anything but, come in, let's talk. No one's going to close their door in your face. Because
That's a
the
bad
very...
idea.
Yeah. Besides the fact that who knows what would, Mr. Age Mage here would do to that, to that gate.
Mage. That's a good one.
Thank you. Besides that, like,
I'm
it's a
the
strategic
mages.
resource.
Sorry, go.
No, it's good. Besides the fact that you don't want to tick this person off, it's more important that this is a strategic resource presenting itself to you that you would at very least want to manage for the safety of your nation, or your city, or your community, whatever. Whether that be you want to harness it, or understand it. Even if the mage is like, I don't even want to fight. I just want to live comfortably. Get me a house, and, like, just let me be. I'm gonna get the guy a house, because I don't want this guy to go to someone else's nation and get a house, and then decide one day I feel like fighting for these people, and then suddenly Age Mage is over here turning all my soldiers into preteens. I don't need that. So, and that is what would happen. And if a mage goes and sows their wild oats and comes home and is like, I tried the freedom fighting thing for a while, and I'm not gonna lie, actually it's kind of morally dubious, and you guys really aren't as bad as I thought. You mind if I had my old room back? I'm pretty sure the first person who would be on board with that would be the nobility of the kingdom, or the people in charge, or the general who used to work with them, be like, yes, for the love of God, get him back in our ranks.
Come here, champ.
Like,
we got the race car bed all made for you.
Exactly. It's the prodigal son, and
Yeah.
only the dark side of it, because it's not that the father actually loves the son in this case, it's because the son is literally a giant walking army in one person, and you really, really can't afford that son to accidentally kill everyone you've ever known or loved, including yourself. So
we are nearing 10 o'clock, so I'd like to do shoutouts, and I have this fun little thing. If you wanna turn on audio, I think you'll like this.
Oh boy, alright, let's do it.
Alright. I'm gonna turn off Chopin. Sorry, Chopin. Just for a second. I didn't mean to duplicate the tab. I meant to mute you. Okay. So we have shoutouts. Work. Yeah. Alright. So I have a
I love that.
where are my oh no, where are my sunglasses? I need these. I need these to look cool and be able to read this. Where did I put them? They're right here. Okay. You'll see why, folks. I promise it's funny. It's worth it. It's for the bit, okay? I'm gonna put my glasses on my nose. Okay, I'm gonna read down my nose like Chuck Schumer. Alright. I do decree it is time for shoutouts. The scroll is here. Yes, okay, of course we have shoutouts. Enough of that, boys. I'm so sorry. So tomorrow's guests for Writer's Block are going to be Catling Gun and RPG Megs. You can find them both on Twitter. They're both great people. Megs is new to the Twitter sphere, so please go and show her some love. She is a fellow writer, and obviously we love our writers. Catling Gun has a pretty big following already, but please give her some more love. She's a cool person, and I'm looking forward to having both of them on the show tomorrow. And we have some shout outs from Omni. So Omni, if you would like to do yours, I put yours on this cool little scroll. I don't know if you saw it on the stream.
I love it to death. And man, you went above and beyond on this. This is well beyond anything. I was like, he told me at the beginning of this, hey, do you have your shout outs? Because we're going to do a cool thing on stream. I'm like, okay, I wonder what that's going to be. This is so good. Oh man.
I thought you'd like.
All right, so let's start off with the basics. I'm going to go literally top to bottom here. Read the scroll as you would. And so first off, Wendigo Workshop is a fantastic little commune, a little creative commune of. They're from Quebec, and they are made of Indigenous, LGBTQ, and neurodivergent people. They are currently working on the Archelon C project, which is this really cool. It's this really cool thing. Archelon Chronicles tabletop RPG. They, as a group, for the record, were one of the first one of the first creative entities that reached out to me beyond an individual. When I talked about when I was working my legacy program, they were reached out and they were like, "Hey, we know you're doing this all by yourself. It's tough. If you need help editing, we're willing to do that for you for free because we know you're doing a lot," as kind of just a reach out between creatives. They are all incredible. And I cannot emphasize enough that if you're looking for a cool sci-fi setting, which they're working on in the Archelon Chronicles, go give it a look. It's a world of magic, monsters, heroes, tech. It's really cool. It's in pre-order right now. Just check them out. The next person on our list right here would be actually these two are both closely knit together. So Gemma Hale is actually one of my personal friends. I met her in the TTRPG community, and she is a fantastic, incredibly uplifting person. Generally, a fun person to know. Her and Callan are both working on Delta 3 designs. I will let them talk more about that project as they're getting along, but they're basically making their own little company together. And also, Gemma Hale is working on a little project called Littlest Adventures, which is the cutest thing in the world. I cannot wait till she drops it. She will have more details, hope like sometime next year, hopefully, as things start calming down. But if you're into really cute, adorable stuff, and you also might want to see like TTRPG flavored, cute, adorable stuff, keep an eye on Littlest Adventures as a project. It's really cool. Also, she is in the partner of Callan Hale. Callan Hale is her partner. Callan Hale is the full-time content creator and co-owner of Delta 3, and he is an incredibly sweet, supportive person himself. He does a bunch of streaming of his own. He has his own link tree on his page. Take a look at what he does. He's an indie supporter. He supports LGBTQ. He's a great person generally. He also does stuff on YouTube. And finally, Tangent Space RPG is a really good friend of mine. Actually, one of the first folks that reached out to me on Twitter. I'm a really personally optimistic science fiction writer, which is kind of a rare, weird bird. We're usually most sci-fi writers tend to steer towards either dystopia
in this territory that we're doing here, and
yeah, exactly. Like dystopia, dark visions of the future. Grim dark is extremely common in fantasy now, or like future stuff. If at very least, most sci-fi tends to approach cyberpunk in terms of the level of grit and dark. But Tangent Space and I share one thing in common, which is we would like to see an optimistic view of the future, if only because it might give people something worth reaching towards. We really haven't seen many optimistic views of the future since Star Trek. And even Star Trek is starting to get a little grimdark nowadays.
Yep.
So it's JP, the person behind it, has been authoring and designing his own tabletop game, Tangent Space, hence the tag. And he has his own website out. He has a demo out of the game for free. Go download it. You won't regret it. It's a really cool system with a lot of awesome stuff in it, with a really unique way of building characters. And genuinely speaking, if you just love sci-fi and independent creators, you can't go wrong with Tangent Space. Those are my 4.
Absolutely, man. And that has been Shoutouts.
Yes!
And I slowly pull that down off the page.
I love it. I love it so much.
I
wasn't prepared for the scroll at all.
I'll have to make another one tomorrow. That's not that much work, honestly. But my shout-outs are going to be the 2 people that I got advertised down there and over there. We have at Van Helsing Art, my partner, and an amazing artist. If you're looking for a a good Christmas present. Probably a little too late for that, but if you're looking for a good New Year's present, you could definitely treat yourself or another person to get an illustration or even a sketch done by Hal. She does amazing character art. She's done a lot of stuff for me personally, and she's done a lot of great stuff. I mean, that commission right there, that is something that she did for Neil from Fey Earth, and
Good.
yeah, and obviously we got in the bottom right, that is beneath Omni, that is Derek's advertisement for Curse of Strahd: The Rise of Alma. That's on Tuesdays at midnight, 12:30, excuse me, half past midnight. And that is DMDM Studios on Twitch. He is a very good mutual friend of ours, and honestly, he's probably what got both of us into doing streaming again and like more prominently over and over again. And I'm gonna have him on maybe for a midnight show tomorrow. Midnight show tomorrow, technically, folks, will be tomorrow. It'll be Christmas Eve, so it will probably just be me. I'm just gonna do the stream so I can get affiliate, because I am this close away from getting affiliate, and I need to do one more stream after this one and the next. So I wanted to thank you. I wanted to shout out you folks who come by and watch the show. I would literally be nothing. Like, this show wouldn't be anything without you guys interacting in the audience, stopping by. Just the community is great, and I couldn't ask for a better handful. Just a giant, great bunch of people like you folks. But I think that is all my. I think that's all my stuff. I think we're almost at 60 followers on this channel, so that's right on.
That's
Actually,
crazy.
we might
That's
be at 60
crazy.
followers. 60 followers exactly. Yeah, right on.
Nice.
I wanted to do one more thing. It's called Wombo art. I think you've heard of it. It's something I wanted to do for AS, just out of curiosity.
Ooh.
I think I'm logged in. Yes. So our prompt will be AS, the edge of stars. So, what do we think? Etching, mystical,
Ooh.
dark fantasy, festive. Which one of these look appetizing to you? These art styles.
I really like the idea of dark fantasy. That seems very cool.
Dark fantasy. All right, AS Edge of Stars, dark fantasy, and this will be our signing off point. So we'll see how this turns out. Oh, I got to scooch it over a little bit so you can watch it get created. Oh, yep. Boop. That is trippy.
Ooh, I like that. That's cool.
That's an interesting one. That's not what I expected, but it's really cool. Give me Phyrexian vibes.
I'm all about this. That's so cool. I love that. I wanted to look into Wombo art. Jeez.
It's really cool. I don't support NFTs, by the way.
Yeah.
Goes
Yeah,
without saying.
great.
But folks, thank you for stopping by again. This is my good night to you. And if you don't stop by tomorrow or for the midnight stream, Merry Christmas to you. I hope you have a great New Year. We will have a show on the 30th. Gonna be earlier. That'll be at noon. Yes, noon, 8 hours before the regular start time. I might stream later on that evening. It will be the 30th. We'll see, though. So, like I said, thank you all very much. And this has been VA Redemption signing off.
And I am the last Omnitech, your favorite robot American. Take care, everyone. And yeah, happy holidays.
We'll see you tomorrow.